I need to let you know that I was on a campus recently, and a group of students took me out to dinner before my presentation. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, the student beside me says, "Vernon, where did your passion for social justice come from?" And I started talking a little bit about some of the books I'd written and some of the articles I'd read and some of the things that have really framed me. And he goes, "No, Vernon, where did your passion for social justice come from?" And so I started talking a little bit about some of my subordinate identities, and he stopped me and he said, "Passion." And I said, "Well, if I really and truly am honest with myself, I blame my parents for this." And the whole table was silent. My parents are Ward and Ernestine Wall. They're both teachers. They're both retired now, but they were both teachers, high school teachers. They met actually on the very first day of class at their institute, at their campus. So keep in mind, in St. Paul's, North Carolina, which is kind of in southeastern North Carolina, there are two high schools. There was a white high school, which was St. Paul's High School, and there was a black high school, which was East Carolina University. East Carolina University, listen to me. East Side High School. There we go. I got it. And so what's interesting is that they met really on the first day of class. They were both brand new teachers. They walked around the corner. They bumped into each other. They looked at each other, and my dad said, "Wow, she's kind of arrogant, but she's good looking." And my mom looked up and said, "He's cute, but he needs to be brought down a peg or two." They walked away, and then that night there was this high school dance, and they were both in the dance, and you can imagine students dancing in the dance, and my parents were chaperones. One was on one end, the other was on the other end. I know you're thinking it's a Lifetime movie. It's true. I know it sounds like a Lifetime movie. I know it does. But they were standing on each end. They were opposite ends. And all of a sudden, two students grabbed and brought them to the center. They started dancing. And then it happened. Love. They looked at each other, and bam, I was born. So I always say that it's really interesting because that's the awe photo. I really believe that I know that what I remember most about growing up are two things. One is sitting around the dinner table, we would always talk about current events. Always. My dad would quiz us on what was going on, and so we had to know exactly what was happening in the world all the time. That was the first thing. The second thing that we always had to do was during the December holidays, we used to always have the house completely clean, because former students would come to visit my mother and my father to ask them questions and to really talk with them a little bit about some of the things that they were doing and fill them in. And so we saw this revolving door of people from all over the world and in all walks of life coming through our house. And so the visual of seeing all of those folks in our house and knowing that they loved my parents and that my parents taught them something really and truly galvanized me. And the fact that I had to always be up on current events. Even to this day, I'm one of those folks that has to watch Robin in the morning for 30 minutes on CNN to make sure that I'm up before I get out and walk around. So really and truly, what I really want us to get a sense for is I would like for each of you in this room to think about, if a student asks you the question that student asked me, what would your story be? Not what you've written, not pedagogy, not things that you've done. I want to know what your base story is, because it's truly about that base story that allows us to do the work that we do. It is truly about that base story that you can share that really and truly makes you human and makes you really and truly that person who students can listen to and learn from. It is truly about us being real. And so I always say that we are all social justice educators. Every last one of us in this room. We are all social justice educators. And it's really important for us to know that, because we are ones that are setting up examples for others. And so I ask you to think a little bit about the stories that you would tell to others. Because what I believe is that when we become that person who can share those stories and move from third person to first person, in other words, be that person who can connect with others, then we truly are really and truly making a difference in the world. I know for a fact that I'm here because of my parents. I'm here on the stage because of my parents. I was home just recently, and my dad is in his 80s now. Mom's in her 80s too. She's in the house doing something. All I could do is I could hear stuff. And there's this moment where, with my parents, I just wanted to be with them. In our house, we don't have to talk sometimes. It's just being in their space. And I go and I sit down beside my dad outside, and he's kind of reading, and I'm sitting there on the porch, and he looks up and he goes, Vernon, I've been reading some things about some voter rights issues with college students in North Carolina. Let's talk a little bit about that. What do you think about that? And I thought, here we are again, sitting around the dinner table once again. And that is truly why I'm here. I always tell people that the greatest philosopher that ever lived was Della Wall Ingram. She was my grandmother, actually. And even though she's no longer physically with me, she's probably spiritually right in this room right now. And she used to always say to us one simple thing growing up. And I think that what really was amazing to me is I think about my parents, I really think about some of the things that they continue to do now in our community, in our world. And I will leave you with this one statement, and there's this one thing that my grandmother used to always say growing up. May the work I've done speak for me. May the work I've done speak for me. So all I ask for all of us to do is to do good work. Della Wall Ingram is right there in the black dress. And my mother is right beside her. And my mother and my grandmother's sisters are there too. And so all I hope is for you is that you have people around you who can celebrate and guide you through your journey toward being social justice educators. Thank you very much.